Marie Greene, good morning. You're artistic director of the Criterion Theatre in Coventry, just down the road from the Albany Theatre, where the National Drama Festivals Association's British All Winners Finals is being held between July 18 and 24. And the Criterion is going to be playing a major part in that. And in your role as artistic director last year, 2020, in the teeth of the pandemic, the show that you chose to do was Queers, which is a series of monologues written by various authors, but curated by Mark Gatiss, who people will know as not only from Game of Thrones, but also for co-writing Sherlock and playing Benedict Cumberbatch's older brother, Mycroft, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm someone with a huge pedigree in TV and theatre. Tell us about Queers, the monologues.
Yes, I mean, it kind of came together in a perfect moment, I suppose, in that our season had to be cancelled for 2020, understandably because of COVID, and we weren't sure what we were going to be able to do, and then we had this little window of opportunity in the autumn where we can actually put something on live. I think we can do it. And then it was trying to find something that met particular criteria. You couldn't have any contact on stage between actors. There couldn't be any more than 4 in the cast. You couldn't have any more than 6 backstage at any one time. It had to be able to be delivered to a socially distanced audience. So for all of these reasons, we were searching around for plays. At the same time, of course, the pandemic and all the things that happened in that, including the murder of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement, everything, it sort of came together in a moment that crystallized for us a real need to think about how our theatre worked, how inclusive it was, what we wanted to do in the future, how we wanted to change and progress, and increasing diversity of our cast, crew, audience, thinking about the plays that we do, are all part of that. So finding a play that was a set of monologues that we could do physically and technically in terms of the restrictions, but also the subject matter, which just fitted that diversity agenda. As I say, it just sort of came together in a perfect moment. It's a collection of monologues that were put together in 2017 in order to mark the anniversary of the 1967 Sexual Offences Act, which decriminalised homosexuality, homosexual acts, I should say, in Britain. And it sort of takes you through history, LGBTQ history, over 100 years, really, in Britain. And it's just a beautiful collection of monologues, some very funny, some very sad, some very angry, but all very beautifully written by 8 different authors. So they all last about 15 to 20 minutes, and there's a lot of interest in, and just beautifully rounded characters in 6 pages of script.
Yeah, and just so, again, for the benefit of anyone who may be uninitiated, you're artistic director, but you don't necessarily direct all the plays, and so you had someone else direct it, and you were and are playing a part in these monologues. You're delivering a monologue.
Yes. Yes, I always think when you take on these kind of management roles in any kind of walk of life, the thing is that I love being on stage, and I direct quite a lot of plays as well. And I stage manage, and I backstage crew as well. But being on stage, there's just something wonderful about it. So if ever I get an opportunity, even as artistic director, to be able to audition for a play, then I will. And this was just something that obviously I was suited to, I suppose. But yes, I definitely don't direct all the plays. Oh my goodness. And Jenny Holmes, our wonderful director, just I mean, when we're looking at plays to do, she'd read this play anyway, and it's kind of been in the back of our mind in terms of something we'd like to do. So yeah, she just grabbed the opportunity when it came along. And of course, for Jenny, the whole rehearsal process was very strange because most of it had to be done on Zoom. you know, and then when we actually got into the theatre space, she could only rehearse so only 3 of us at a time. You know, we'd have to sit socially distanced in the auditorium. We'd have to be very careful how we moved around. And actually on the nights of the performance, we had to separate the 2 acts. So the four actors in the first act never saw the 4 actors in the second act, because we had to leave the theatre through the one-way system, having cleaned our dressing room stations and so on. So yeah, it was a very strange experience indeed. So for Jenny, being able to do this in a different way this time at the Albany and for the All Winners is just a wonderful opportunity.
It's how many times did you perform it? How many times were you able to perform it?
So we had 5 nights in the theatre with a 20% audience capacity, which for us meant that we had 28 seats. Our auditorium usually seats 122, so it was it was just still so wonderful to perform to a live audience. Even looking out and seeing people sitting, you know, with their masks on, because if anyone's ever been to the Criterion, it's a very small theatre, it's a very intimate space, so you can see the audience and they can see the white of your eyes. So it's going to be, again, a very, very different experience being in the expanse that is the Albany and delivering these monologues there. Yeah, that's going to be very interesting for us.
And the part that you will be delivering is Alice. Tell us about Alice. What's Alice's life story?
Yeah, this monologue is called Missing Alice by the wonderful John Bradfield, who I've been like kind of stalking a bit on Twitter, to be honest. But he's wonderful, and he sent wonderful messages of support at the time. But he's written this wonderful monologue about a woman. When we meet her, it's in 1957, and she was, because I'm obviously a year older, but she was exactly my age when I played her. So there was something kind of did feel like a connection. But in any other way, Alice's life is completely different to mine. And I mean, that's why, you know, it was wonderful to play. But a working class woman who had a baby very young, at age 16, and had to give that baby up for adoption, and it's how her life goes on afterwards, and meeting her husband Michael, and then at some point in that relationship realizing that he was gay, and then how they negotiated that for the rest of their marriage, actually. So it's a kind of story of I suppose that it is of really strong love, but also that kind of unrequited element in some respect, and also yearning, and then also how you accommodate that within a relationship that's very important. And I think all of these stories, what I think it tells you is how complicated lives are, you know, and that what you might see on the surface when you see people walking down the street, or, you know, switching it forward to us looking at Twitter or Facebook or whatever now, what people might write on their posts hide a whole multitude of things going on underneath that might not be what they seem. So I guess from the outside, Alice and Michael seemed like the very kind of ordinary 1930s, 40s couple, you know, and then everything's going on in the background for them. Yeah. But I mean, essentially, though, it is a very heartwarming story.
And it's going to present a different challenge to you, isn't it, as an actor? Because, as you say, the Criterion, which I know well, is that intimate space. And now you're going to have to deliver this very intimate story to a 500-seater auditorium. I mean,
yeah, I know. You're already like terrifying me.
Sorry, didn't wish to, you know, unveil the mountain. But have you started, as obviously we're recording this, you know, weeks and weeks in advance, have you restarted rehearsals, and can you now meet all of you together? And is it already, or will it be a different rehearsal experience? Tell me.
So we have our first meeting tonight, cast meetup tonight, actually, which is kind of very fortuitous. And I've, got my script back out, and I'm looking at the words actually are sticking in there, so that's quite nice to know. They haven't completely disappeared from my cerebral cortex. We're meeting up tonight, and I think we have got a mixture of some Zoom rehearsals with Jenny, the director, organised, and then the problem is that we can get back in the theatre now, and we're actually, the Criterion is rehearsing a play that it's going to put on at the end of June. Starting from this Monday, we were able to go in, but of course the rule of 6 applies. So, but what we could definitely do was rehearse in acts, so the 4 of us could come along, because actually it is very nice to be watching other people's monologues as you're doing them, and being an audience, really. So we will be going back into the theatre from now until the point where we go on. Yes. So, but that difference in space is going to be, we're going to have to try and go to some big echoey places before we get in the Albany the night before or whatever.
But a revival is fun, isn't it? Because actually they do come back, and you think, and you think you've kind of lost them and buried them forever, and then suddenly they ping at you off the page, and it's back there, isn't it? And
absolutely. When I've done revivals before, I've done a couple of times, what I've actually found is the performance second time round is different, and I think better. And it's somehow like it's a memory, like you're recalling a memory. So the whole thing has a different sense, I think. So it will be very interesting to see how this goes.
I'm sure that everyone would agree with you. It does give an opportunity to go on to take it to another level. So it's just wonderful that unlooked for, having played to very restricted houses, that now the All Winners Festival coming to Coventry, as it is doing for the first time ever, presents the Cry and you and your fellow cast members to do this revival, to pick it up and do it again. You never thought that, when you finished, you never thought that it would be back again, but here it is.
I was so honoured. I mean, that was just a wonderful invitation that came out. Really? Really? Yes. I mean, yes, if we could make that happen, yes. I mean, you didn't really have to ask for very long. I just checked it out with Jenny, and Jenny went, yes, we'll do that. And if, we obviously have some issues in that our particular member of the cast just he's not in Coventry anymore. So we do have to make some adaptations, but the rest of us will, yes, if whatever we can do to make it happen, we're going to make it happen.
Well, it's going to be, Marie, it's going to be great to see you, all of you on stage in Coventry, but on the larger stage of the Albany, and on the opening night of the All Winners, on the opening Sunday night, you open the show, and you set the pace. It's I'm not trying to make that mountain seem even higher, by the way, but it's going to be great to welcome Coventry's premier amateur theatre to the Albany to kick off what is going to be, I'm sure, is a week of tremendous top class quality amateur theatre, and we are massively looking forward to it.
Thank you. We are too.
Marie.